All right, so this is measurement lesson 5. This lesson is on temperature. Okay, so this one is quite different than the other ones, all the other measurement stuff that we've done. Temperature converting between degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit is not as, like the nice part about it is that there's only two equations, one for going from Fahrenheit to Celsius and the other one from going Celsius to Fahrenheit. The only problem with them is just that they are like kind of two-step processes. Okay, so the formulas look more complicated than what we've done before, but the nice part is that it's easy to find the right formula because there's only two. So let me just show you how to do this. And I would recommend that when you do it in your, when you like put this stuff into your calculator, that you do it in two steps. You can put this all into your calculator at once, but you just have to be careful how you do it. And so my recommendation would just be to do it in two steps. So uh, let's go ahead and do this first example here. So if I have 75 degrees Fahrenheit and I want to know what that temperature is in Celsius, okay, I have two equations to choose from here. I have this equation and I have this equation. We want our answer to be in degrees Celsius. This is the equation for finding degrees Celsius. Okay, we're going to take whatever we have in for Fahrenheit and plug it in to right here, and then we put this into our calculator and it gives us our answer right here. Okay, so when you're looking for your answer to be Celsius, you're going to pick the one that has degrees Celsius here. When you are looking for your answer to be degrees Fahrenheit, you pick the one that has degrees Fahrenheit here. Okay, so now that we know that, okay, we're going to use this equation to convert from Fahrenheit into Celsius. So I'm just going to write out the entire thing here. Okay, this is saying like the degrees in Celsius is going to be equal to 5 divided by 9 multiplied by what's in brackets here. Okay, so here I have degrees Fahrenheit. All I'm replacing, this is just what is the Fahrenheit that we're converting from. Okay, we're just taking our 75 and we're plugging it into right here. So we're going to replace this degrees Fahrenheit with 75 right here. So I'm saying 75 and then minus 32 from that. Okay, so my equation is completely set up now. This was all I had to do. I picked the right equation and then I took my degrees Fahrenheit and I plugged it into right here. Now in your calculator, you have to be careful of the order that you do this. If you just typed 5 divided by 9 times 75 minus 32, and you didn't put any brackets in or anything, it would not give you the correct answer. Okay, so the way that we do this, if we think about like BEDMAS, okay, is that you have to do something that's in brackets first. So that means that I need to do what's right here first. I need to do the 75 minus 32 first. So in my calculator, that is what I would do. I would say my first step, I'm just gonna write a little 1 here for step 1, would be in my calculator, I'd say 75 minus 32. Okay, and that would give me 43. Okay, that my calculator told me that's 43. My second step now is to take my answer, okay, this all was 43, multiply it by 5 and divide it by 9. Okay. This part, the order isn't so as important. I could divide first, then multiply, or I can multiply, then divide. That part's not a big deal. I tend to just multiply first and then divide. So I would say I take my 43 that I got from the first part, and I'm going to times it by 5 and divide by 9. Okay, so this is what I would put into my calculator. This was my first step, got 43, and I took that times by 5, divided by 9, and let me just punch that into my calculator here. All right, so after I punch that into my calculator, I got 23.9, okay? And 23.9 what, right? It's important to put our units down so we remember what it was that we were doing. We took 75 degrees Fahrenheit and turned it into Celsius. So our answer is 23.9 degrees Celsius. That is what 75 degrees Fahrenheit is. If somebody says it's 75 degrees Fahrenheit, to us, that means it's basically 24 degrees Celsius outside. Okay, now the next example here is going from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So same idea, but the formula is just slightly different. So I'm going to write out my formula here. Draw the line. Okay, degrees Fahrenheit. My answer of how many degrees Fahrenheit is this in Celsius is equal to 32 plus 9 divided by 5 times our number in Celsius. Okay, so that's where now I'm going to take what is in here and replace my like degree Celsius with this. Okay, so now I'm writing this in brackets to show the negative. Okay, so I wrote this in brackets because if I did not have brackets here, it would make it look like I'm saying subtract 14. Okay, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying this subtract 14. I'm saying I want to multiply this by negative 14. So if I have these brackets here, now we're saying this multiplied by negative 14. Okay, so this is the two steps you need to do in your calculator. Okay, you have to do this part first, then add your 32. Otherwise, your answer will be wrong. Okay, so this is how I would do in my calculator. Step one, I'd take my negative 14. Okay, on your calculator, be careful not to hit the subtract button. Okay, let me switch this for a sec. Okay, on your calculator, don't hit the subtract button for negative. Okay, it will give you an error or it might give you the wrong answer depending on how it works. Okay, you want to use this negative button here. This will put a negative sign and then you put your 14. Okay, so that will give you negative 14 if you use that button first. Don't use subtract. So negative 14 times 9 divided by 5. Times 9 divided by 5. Okay, that will give us what's here, and then our second step will be adding 32 to it. So negative 14 times 9 divided by 5 is equal to negative 25.2. There's a decimal there that's hard to see. Okay, negative 25.2. Oh, sorry, switch my screen. That's better. Okay, negative 25.2. My second step is now I still need to add that 32 to it. All this was equal to negative 25.2. Now add 32. So the second step is negative 25.2 plus my 32. Gives me a final answer of 6.8. 6.8, and I took Celsius, turned it into degrees Fahrenheit. My answer here is 6.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is how to use these two equations. Make sure you break it up into two steps, and pick the right of those two equations. The last thing I'll say, I'm just going to give you a hint for this one at the bottom. I'm not going to go through the entire problem, but this one says someone learned that the highest temperature in Calgary was 31.6 degrees Celsius, and the lowest temperature was negative 47.9 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's the temperature difference in degrees Celsius? Okay, so we have 36.1 degrees Celsius is the highest temperature, and then negative 47.9 degrees Fahrenheit was the lowest. If we want to compare these two, we need to have them in the same units. Okay, so what you're going to do is first convert this one into degrees Celsius. Okay, so you're going to use your equations to turn that one into degrees Celsius. Now you're going to have two numbers. This is your high number, and this will be your low number. So I'm just going to use example numbers here. So let's say our highest temperature, right, like here's 0 degrees Celsius on a number line. Okay, if we have number line, we're going negative this way and positive that way. So our highest temperature was 36.1 degrees Celsius, and our lowest temperature, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say it was negative 40 or something. Okay? And it says, what's the difference between those two numbers? Okay, negative 36 is all the way out here. This one's all the way out here. To find how much space is between those two, we would say there's like 40 degrees between here and 0, and then between 0 and 36.1, there's 36.1. So to find the total difference, you're adding those two numbers together of like 40 plus 36.1. If these were your actual numbers, your answer then would be like 76.1 is how much space is between them. Okay, so I think that should be enough to kind of get you started in the right track. If that's still not making sense, you can obviously ask me for help. But that's really all there is to it, to these temperature ones. Okay, it's just using those two equations and being careful in your calculator. So good luck with the practice problems.